So Christina Calle is joining the podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so your business, Calle Creative, started 3 years ago, like we were just talking about. But let's start off with um, kind of what you do, and then we'll kind of dive into some of those stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so I built my business mainly around branding. I know like a lot of designers, they just say graphic design. Like I'll do a postcard, I'll do a flyer, I'll do a brochure, I'll do whatever you need me to do. With my small businesses, I believe that branding is incredibly important because that's what drives everything.
Mm,
Your website, your social media, your business cards, your flyers, your brochures. If you don't have a solid branding down, then you're just kind of just doing whatever that you
hmm.
feel like doing at that time. My best example is when you go onto Canva and you find those trending templates,
Yeah,
and the next day you find a new trending template, and the
yeah,
next day you find a new one. There's no consistency in your branding. Whereas we look at some of the top retailers in the world, like Walmart, Target, Starbucks, they don't pick whatever they want for that day. They're not changing their logo colors because today they want to do green and tomorrow they want to do pink.
sure.
We easily recognize these brands because of them being consistent. If we're walking down the soda aisle and we see red, we automatically know that's Coke. We're
Hmm.
not going to be confused on could that be Pepsi? That's
Hmm.
going to be the blue section, of
Right,
the
right.
soda aisle. So like, okay, I know mine is a Coke product. I'm going to go to that section. So by building a brand awareness, people can easily recognize you through your ads, then through your social media posts, and get people to stop scrolling or to stop turning that page in that magazine because they're like, oh, I know that logo,
I've
or
seen it
I know what
before.
that looks like. You're
Yeah.
creating a visual breadcrumb for
Mm,
people by keeping a consistent look and feel. So that's why I focus mainly on the branding. And then once we nail that down, then I help people with all their marketing materials and their social and their websites and stuff.
yeah. How would you define branding?
So I actually have a presentation, the 15 steps of branding, because
Okay.
branding does not start with your logo. Shocker, I know. That's what I do. I design logos.
Hmm.
But it really comes down to everything that is about your business, your
Mm,
values, your goals in your business, your target audience, who you're communicating to,
hmm.
even down to your tone of voice and your personality of your business. We have Harry's razors versus, Venus razors. They're both razors,
Yeah,
they just brand to a different type of person.
sure,
One's more feminine, if you will, and one's more masculine. They
sure.
sell razors. Same thing with Target versus Walmart. They're the exact same store, but because of how they're branding and who they're targeting to,
Mhm.
basic moms or just, everyday families, their branding speaks to them, which is why we have people that are tattooing Harley Davidson on the side of their arm because they live and
Sure.
feel a part of that branding.
Yeah.
Even though they have nothing to do with the business, they don't maybe not have shares in the business, but they just live and breathe that brand. They feel super connected to it.
Yeah.
And it comes down to more than just the logo. It's the colors, it's the fonts, it's the images that you pick, it's the quotes that you put on your Facebook. It's the charity work that you do as a business. CVS gives tons and tons of money to the community to help, fight opiates. And so that's one of the things that I love about CVS. Is it a little bit more expensive?
Yeah.
Yes, but I know that they're doing so much more to the community. So we understand more beyond just that logo. People start connecting and become brand loyalists.
Mm.
And that's what we all want,
Yeah.
is people to be loyal to our business. And we do that through branding.
So how is it like defining all of those parameters and, brand like guidelines or brand structure and then just repeating it, like being consistent with it? Is that how you like create that brand awareness or create that brand loyalty?
Yeah, definitely. And so when you're starting a business, you kind of want to outline like, what are we going to stand for? Like, what is our business about? Is it community? Is it just building a better, affordable brand? Are we going to have a stance on, like pro military? Or, you got to outline what your goals are in your business and stick to that. So then you can, again, build the, the consistency of it
Yeah.
so people can get to know who you are as a company. And it's a little bit easier for smaller brands because they can make a local connection, Jeff Bezos is not sending us a Facebook message saying, thanks for buying that.
Yeah, yeah.
We just are loyal to Amazon because it's convenient,
Right, right.
But with our smaller local brands, it's that handwritten note that we get in that box in our mailbox. It's that
Mhm,
thank you letter that they wrote by hand. It's that
mhm.
when we get that box and we open it and we want to share it on social media with those unboxing videos,
Sure.
it's the people that sell out your soaps right before you go to the farmer's market. It's because they want to support you.
Mhm.
You can buy soaps anywhere,
Right.
but they want to buy soaps from, the person at the farmer's market because they believe in what she's doing and that she's
Mhm,
trying to make a difference.
mhm.
That's where our small businesses can really stand out by communicating, not necessarily saying like, look what I'm doing and taking a selfie every time you do a charity work, but just know that you're doing good, getting those Google reviews, having those testimonials and
Yeah.
stuff, letting people speak for you too.
Yeah, which is it's as a small business owner, it can be challenging, right? Because I mean, you just listed off like a ton of different ways um, to promote your brand,
Mhm.
right? To promote your business. Um, is there one aspect that's maybe more important than the other? Like if you're going to create a logo, or is it like some of those brand guidelines, like who's my target audience, who am I speaking to? Is there one thing that's more important, or is it just like you just got to get it all hammered out, like the sooner the better?
I think the most important thing besides having a solid logo, the colors and the fonts, like the visual part, but
Yeah,
understanding who you're trying to
yeah,
reach. Because
yeah.
when you're trying to market to everyone, you're going to market to no one. We see it all the time when we go to these networking events. I'm looking for anyone who has a heartbeat. And you think of absolutely no one.
Yeah.
And if
You
you're
want to
like,
buy, sell, and home in Florida? I'm your realtor.
right?
Yeah.
If you go into these networking groups and you say, I am looking for that busy mom that lives in Starkey that has outgrown their home. They're like,
Hmm.
oh, well, my friend was just talking about there's no room in their house. You already picture someone in your mind.
Yeah.
So if you really understand who it is, who is your target audience, then you can also align your values towards those people too.
Mm.
Not necessarily being fake about it, but just
Right,
understanding like,
right.
okay, this is the audience that I want to work with because that audience is close to the values that I hold too.
Hmm.
So my values reaches those people because they have similar values that I do. And so you have to be super clear on who you want to target.
Sure.
Like niching down is super important.
Yeah.
When people say like everyone is my client, I'm like, no one thinks of
Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah.
And you can certainly, market to everyone. I went to business wanting to help, female entrepreneurs that are in the maker category or the photographers. I love working with those people because I'm artistic and those people are artistic.
Sure.
I have a lot of people that come to me that are trades. I've
Yeah.
had roofers, I have AC people, I have windows and doors people. So, yes, I can design to them, but they just see the quality of work that I do. So that's why they come to me. But my target audience is female entrepreneurs that
Yeah.
are the makers, the photographers, those type of people.
And I think that's the misconception about niching down, right? Is
Mhm.
that like I'm only gonna be able to serve like this small little community where in fact like you're just speaking to those people, but you're still gonna be able to serve other people like outside of that niche, and people are still gonna want to do business with you outside of that niche.
Exactly, and I think, with realtors, sometimes people are like, "I do not want to do mobile homes. Do not recommend these." Photographers like, "I don't want to do babies. Do
Yeah.
not tag me in those baby posts."
Yeah.
You can have, like, hard
Yeah.
no's,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are like, "I'm too scared to," like you said, "niche down because maybe I'll get nobody."
Yeah.
I was like, "But you'll be laser focused, so
Yeah.
the people that you're looking for are going to find your post because you're speaking to them."
Mm-hmm.
Target did a fantastic job on targeting the basic mom.
Yeah.
They knew that moms were coming into Target and it was kind of like their break out of the chaos of their house. They can go into the dollar spot, which is right there. Everybody's got to hit
Yeah.
that spot first because it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Kind of like Aldi.
Uh,
But they saw that moms were coming in with their Starbucks coffees. They weren't really going to the food court at the super Targets anymore. So they took out the food courts and they put in Starbucks. Well, then they saw that mom with her cart trying to hold the Starbucks cup and the kid with the K-pop. They redesigned their carts to have a cup holder in it. So
oh
mom could
wow.
put her
Yeah.
Starbucks
Yeah.
in the cup holder. Well, Target also had Target Pharmacy. Nobody was going to Target Pharmacy. Like that's not what top of mind. So they took that out and put CVS in. I'm already shopping at CVS. I'll
Yeah.
have I need to go and pick up groceries and I need to pick up, a new bathing suit. I'll just have my prescriptions sent to here because I'm already going to be there.
Mhm.
And so it just made sense for them to partner with the basic moms already shopping at, Starbucks. They're
CVS,
already
yeah.
shopping at CVS. Why
Yeah.
not already bring that in? Because they already have that following.
Yeah.
Some of the larger Targets have Ulta in them too, because Ulta owns the beauty category. Why try to reinvent it? Just bring Ulta in and let
Yeah.
them do it.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll bring in that cult following, for the Ulta, what is it, those holiday packages or the palettes that come out and
Okay.
stuff that
Yeah.
people are lining up for. So Target does a fantastic job on, messaging to those people
Yeah.
and hitting that everyday lifestyle too, at a premium price
Yeah.
versus Target, right?
That's pretty cool. So how did you transition into, like, starting your own business? Like, what led you to starting your own business?
Well, my husband will say that it took a pandemic for me to start my own business.
I'm sure a
Um,
lot of people kind of went through that, right?
yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pandemic businesses
Yeah.
out there. I was very comfortable at corporate America. I had a paycheck that came in. I knew how to budget for it. I loved the work that I did, and I
Yeah.
love my cube mates.
Yeah.
We're all in Cube City together. But in 2018, my dad attempted suicide. And
Mm.
so it kind of made me realize that I don't have tomorrow
Mm.
because I still have his Christmas gift from December that I told myself, I'll send it. I'll send it. I'll send it.
Mm.
And it was the middle of January when my dad decided to do that. And so you don't have tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I kind of already started resisting corporate life, making sure I took my time off. Made sure I told my boss, I am leaving early today because my kids had scouts or they
Mhm.
have something at school. Whether he approved it or not
Yeah.
was something else. But I told myself, like, my kids are only going to be little for so long. And I just had my second one in 2017. So he was very young when my dad did what he did.
Wow.
And my husband and I were like, we got to figure something out. He was working nights, I was working days. I was being the team player and going out after hours and going to back bar, and driving home late at night. So I was missing morning time and evening time.
Yeah.
And I had convinced myself that I was just the mom coming home to put my kids to bed. I wasn't actually mom. And but it still took me another 2 years of corporate that I was like, I need to do something. I need to do
Yeah.
something. So March of 2020, it was on a Tuesday. I was 7 months pregnant with my third and got an email to come down to the conference room. And we all knew it. We saw the security guys out front. This virus was going around. Our programs were getting canceled because the stores were closing. In some of the states, stores are already starting to close at this time.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what retail was going to be like, certainly going into
Crazy.
it and coming out of it. So major programs were being canceled and our retailers were closing. And because they were closing in their corporate state, the rest of the places had to follow suit that they had to close because of what corporate standards, not necessarily statewide. It came from corporate down.
Sure.
So we were let go. And my mom also worked at Triad, so we both lost our
Oh
job that
my
day.
goodness.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was the collections manager, actually. Funny enough. And then we went to Chipotle and we ordered a bunch of everything and just sat there and just like stared at each other. And then I
Yeah.
called up my friend. I'm like, I guess we won't be going to your baby shower luncheon next week because we all just got let go
Yeah.
because she was due in a couple of weeks. And went home. Obviously, I had texted my husband. I was like, so this happened. He's
And
like,
you had no idea this was coming, right? Because this was like COVID was just kind of like ramping up then at
yeah,
that
COVID
point.
was just like real. I mean, everybody's kind of like joking around. We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
like the huge sanitizing things at our different stations, and I remember we had this ginormous one. And the next day we had like these little ones. I'm like, oh, our ginormous one had babies. And so we're trying to make jokes about it. As
Yeah.
designers, that's just what we do. We put up memes around the office. But it was a couple of weeks leading up to that when the sellers were like, another program canceled, stop working on that. You don't need to work on that program anymore. It just got canceled.
Wow.
And so we're kind of like getting nervous. I'm like, all my work just got canceled.
Wow.
And one of the last pitches I was working on was actually for Target. And they're like, Target canceled their meetings. And we're like, okay, cool. We were also trying to work with Carnival too. And then we're like, nothing.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like a lull of like, what do? We start organizing our files. Let's, create, dummy projects, for pitches. And then when we all kind of walked in the next day or that week, some people, like core people, were missing. And we're like,
Mm.
where's so and so? Like mostly the boss levels. We're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
where are they?
Yeah, yeah.
And our HR person like disappeared the week before. We had someone from our parent company there. And we're like, oh, I think something's coming down.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of like the last like month when things were getting weird, but not complete shutdown. I thought we were just going to have another layoff, like when eBay left, when
Yeah.
we had a bunch of people get laid off for that. So I took the next couple of weeks, just kind of like recompose myself. I'm like, okay, I need to go get another job.
Yeah.
Here's the resumes go. And like I said, I had job offers. Publix wanted to hire me, but after my maternity. There's a
Mm.
company over in Tampa want to hire me after maternity leave. And I'm like,
Mhm.
but I need to figure out life now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm 7
I gotta
months
pay for this
pregnant.
baby,
I've
yeah.
got my husband had surgery on Friday. He had a rotator cuff
Oh
surgery.
my goodness.
And so I'm like updating my resume in the park because I wasn't allowed to go in because of COVID.
Jeez.
And then I had my one in kindergarten and then my 3-year-old at that time. And then the school shut down. So I'm like, okay, so I guess we're going to be doing this online learning, trying to find a job and take care of my husband who just, recovered
Yeah.
from rotator cuff surgery. I'm like, cool. And then my mom had got the notice that the rental was being sold and she needed to get out. So I'm like, all right, mom, and my little brother, like, come on in.
Yeah.
We're all going to live together.
Yeah.
And then I just needed to be more available to everybody.
Yeah.
I had my mom, my little brother then living with me, and I had, my husband who had to have a second rotator cuff surgery because his bicep ended up detaching.
Mm.
And then he had hip surgery that December. So I'm like, I got to do something that gives me more availability, more flexibility.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, why don't I become like an art teacher? And I was like, saw everything that was going on with the schools. I'm like, or not. I'm not going to be an art teacher.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
No. And I just kind of like put some feelers out there. I'm like, I think I'm just going to do my own thing. And I posted in a local mom support group and I said, anyone need a logo? I was like, I don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I need a logo. And my first one was actually a friend that was getting into real estate.
Okay.
And I did her logo. And then a former boss messaged me. She's like, have you found anything yet? I was like, no, I don't really know what I want to do right now. And she's like, well, come do work with us. She's like, you'll have like the same job, but you can work from home. She's like, I know you've got the little ones. You're about to have a third one. I'll just give you work and you can work as you need to. I'm like, okay, cool. So I ended up doing a lot of their social media stuff and their internal stuff. And just from there, other triad people were like, hey, do you have a job? I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do some freelancing for a while. I'm like, cool. Can
Yeah.
you do this website for me?
Cool.
Or, hey, I've got a buddy that needs a logo. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And so it just turned into word of mouth. And I had enough business that was coming in that was paying the bills.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, just get your LLC already. Just do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. So in October 2020 is when I got my LLC.
Okay.
No idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Did it wrong, I found out. So if you need someone, find someone to help you do an LLC. 'Cause
Yeah.
there is a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
And then December, I hit published on my website. I hired a business coach because I know how to help people with their marketing stuff and their branding. But
Yeah.
trying to do it yourself is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Was it hard to narrow down like your brand and like your target audience?
oh gosh, yeah, because I've had, this extensive experience. I used to work with, the power sports dealerships, building out the bikes, babes, and barbecue postcards and the bikini bike wash stuff for Harley.
Mhm.
And then I worked with Encore and 1,000 Trails for, their seasonal campaigns. And then I did stuff with PwC. And I'm like, so I can work with a lot of different
Right,
people,
right.
but who do I want to work with?
Yeah.
Nothing against my trades. I love them, but I just, like I said, I really like the more artistic businesses since I
Mhm.
have a very artistic background.
Mhm.
Painting, clay, jewelry. I've done everything but glasswork.
Oh,
And
cool.
because have that such artistic background, I wanted to work with more artists trying to start their own business.
Yeah.
And I know the power of branding will get them seen. One of my clients, Joellen, she was DIYing her stuff, during COVID, just a COVID business. And she
Mhm.
does soaps. And she was like, I need help. I need to get out of this. My branding is great, but I know
Mhm.
it could be better. So we rebranded her and had her soap wraps done, her stickers for all of her scrubs.
Sure.
Now she's selling stuff over in England and Canada. She's in several
Cool.
boutiques and everything here. And so I tell people, like, DIYing is fantastic. It gets you starting.
Right,
There's a
right.
lot of people that are in their queue wishing they can start their own business, but it
Mhm.
comes to time to where you're stuck. You
Yeah.
no longer see the growth. And if you are a product-based business, I say go to the stores. Where do you see your stuff? Is it at Target? Then bring your candle to Target, put it on the shelf, and can it compete with everybody else?
Mhm.
Is it higher level than everybody else?
That's a good idea. I
If it
like that.
can't compete, then you need to fix it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because we used to do store walks when I worked at Triad. And
Okay.
so we would go see what other people are doing, like what is the next campaign? Who's advertising? Who's on the end caps? What can we do
Mhm.
for our clients to get them on the end cap? What
Mhm.
can we, because depending on which shelf level you are, is a different premium price. So like it costs the
For that
most
product.
expensive for
Yeah.
that product to be
Yeah.
at eyesight. And so we wanted to see who's on eyesight. What are they doing? And so we would do that for our sellers, saying like, this is what's going on right now at Walmart. This is what's going on right
Yeah.
now at Sam's Club.
So did you so you learned a lot from your corporate background and like that job you had, and I'm sure that's helped you tremendously,
Hmm.
like starting your business, and just like working with the people, right?
Oh, definitely. I definitely have a process that I have developed.
Yeah.
And I notice when people stick with that process that it goes a lot easier. Because when PwC was rebranding the company I worked for at the time, we were right into it. So I saw what they were doing.
Mhm.
When Babies R Us updated their purple to a brighter purple, like we got the style guides,
Mhm.
working with eBay when they did the refresh, we got their ginormous style guide.
Mhm.
So I had to read it to make sure the stuff that we were designing, met their
Fit,
standards.
yeah.
When I worked with the power sports dealerships, we had to make sure that all of our postcards were co-op approved. Like if Harley was going to give you money to do that, barbecue chili cook-off, we have to make sure that the postcard met their standards.
Sure.
So I had again read the style guides, make sure that we're doing it right. Honda and BMW were some of the worst ones to work with because Honda was like, oh, that needs to be like 30% about us and 40% about the offers and
Oh, yeah.
50% about the event. I'm like, that doesn't add up to 100. Like, how do I design for that?
Yeah.
Um, and then like BMW had like their specific fonts and their tags that are on every single advertising, and they have like a strict clear space. And one of my postcards got rejected because it was too close to the edge because we
Oh,
were in
yeah.
fear that the clear space would be cut off when the postcard was produced.
Yeah, yeah.
But we would do 10,000 postcards for each dealership. And then we
Crazy.
have multiple dealerships that would buy into that program.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
had to make sure that everything
Yeah.
was right
Yeah, yeah.
to get, Harley to approve and stuff. So I got very good at looking at style guides. So when Babies R Us refreshed their logo, we would do marketing campaigns and we do a logo parade. And I was like, that's not the right Babies R Us logo. And they're like, how can you tell that? I'm like, it's brighter purple. How can you not see that?
Yeah, yeah. But you
Um,
were just so familiar with everything at that point. You're so ingrained in
Oh, yeah,
what's
I
going
made
on.
it
Yeah.
a point to reach out to our lawyers to get what is it like, what do these contracts state? So we were working with Staples and Office Depot, Office Max at that point. They're competing
Oh,
businesses.
wow, yeah.
So I needed to know what in our contract were we allowed to do and not allowed to do. They were never allowed to be next to each other. So when we had a circle rotating banner at, Shopper Marketing Expo, I had to make sure that logos were on the opposite side
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they could never be seen together at any point when that thing spun around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so because we would get in trouble, it was against our contracts with
Sure,
them.
sure, sure.
Um,
So let's go back to your business and, um, one of the reasons you started your business was to spend time with your family and to just have more flexibility in your schedule, right? Um, one of the I think that's like one of the difficult things about like owning your own business is that work-life balance. Like
mhm.
when do you shut off, especially when you can work from home, right? It's like where like where's your workspace? Like how do you define all that? So one, I want to ask you like how do you define work-life balance? And then two, um, how do you make it how do you how does it work for you in your scenario?
Yeah, so we all hear work-life balance. It's
Yeah.
all over,
Right, right.
LinkedIn, it's all over Instagram, work-life balance. But truly, there really is not a work-life balance. It's just whatever works for you,
Yeah, yeah.
not what society says it is. And
Monday
for
through Friday,
me
9 to 5, weekends
yeah.
off, right, yeah.
For me, I knew that I wanted to be mom as well. I didn't get to do that with my older ones. I left at 4:30 in the morning, got to the gym because I was on this whole health kick, but I had
Mhm,
to be in St. Pete by 7 o'clock. And I lived over in Newport Richey. And so I knew I had to, so there was no, if even if I skipped the gym, I still would not be home early enough to wake up my kids and make breakfast and get them to school.
mm,
So I knew right at the bat, like I want some days to where I can wake them up and have breakfast with them because that was
mhm,
something I never got to do except for on
mm,
the weekends, but
yeah,
get them off to school. And then I knew like I want to pick them up from school. I want to be that person that, we can walk to school. So I'm like, I'm
mhm,
walking with them and they can run up to me. I knew I wanted to do that. And in the beginning, it was really hard because I was brand new, getting out there. They're like, "Who is this girl, Christina? Like, do you do more than logos?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so people are like, "Logos and stuff." Is what people were describing me. She does logos and stuff. But I was different. I believe that data insights is really important and part of the branding process. So
yeah,
I had the client questionnaire, I do the mood boards. And so there's a lot of education that I had to do with people, because I was not that $50, $100 Fiverr,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
designer,
Create my logo and then
right?
be done
Just tell
with
me what you like and I'll
yeah.
do it. Find something on Pinterest and I'll copy it. Uh,
Here's my templates, which one do you want me to implement? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And so right off the bat, I had to know, like, what was my why? My why every day is what drives me. My
Mm,
why is my kids and my husband, my family.
mhm,
Because I could have easily lost all of that during COVID. Not COVID, sorry, and corporate in COVID too,
yeah, yeah, right.
But in the beginning, I said a lot of yeses when I should have said a lot of nos.
Mm,
I took on a lot of projects and I was working until like after my kids went to bed, I was continuing to work until 1 o'clock in the morning because I said a lot of yeses.
yeah.
Said, no problem, I'll get that to you. Oh yeah, unlimited revisions, cool. Not taking deposits for future dates. And so people were like, oh, change of plans. I'm like, cool, I got 2 weeks of no work.
Yeah,
Who wants a business card?
yeah,
So after year one, I had to really evaluate. I'm like, okay, this schedule is not working for me. I'm like, I'm
yeah.
I'm still missing things. I'm working when it should be dinner time. I'm home and I'm locked in our bedroom working. So I actually have two phones now too. I have my personal phone and my work phone.
Okay.
So at 3 o'clock, that phone gets turned off. And people are like, oh man, you're
Your
really
work
hard to
phone gets turned off.
my work phone gets
Yeah,
turned
yeah,
off.
yeah,
And I've had a few people like, wow, you're really hard to get a hold of. I'm like, when? When are you trying to get? Well, at 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm like, well, yes, because my phone is off.
yeah,
I am mom. I tell people like I am mom mode in the evening.
yeah,
And when I get invited to evening events, like it have to be like really good evening events for me to give up
for sure.
dinner.
Yeah.
But I know Mondays is for scouts. So I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing anything. It's scouts is on Monday, dance is on Tuesday, church is on Wednesday. I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe Thursday night events. I'm like, but again, it has to be like really
Yeah, yeah,
meaningful, important event
yeah.
for me to go to. And then Fridays, I don't work anymore on Fridays. I take my daughter to gymnastics or I take her to the library
Cool.
because I didn't get to do that with my boys.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot for me to do stuff on a Friday. And I have to see that there is, like it's meaningful for my time because I'm trading it for my daughter.
Mhm.
I was at a wood badge training for scouts. It's 2 weekends and it's a leadership training to be a better leader and to create a better program for Cub Scouts and for troop too. And someone said there's gonna be one day that will be your last day, then you can pick up your child. And I'm like, oh my God, my mom can't pick me up anymore.
Mm.
Obviously, I don't remember when that last day
Yeah, yeah,
was.
right.
And so after that, I went home and picked up my 8-year-old. Like, I can still pick you up.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's gonna be a day that you won't even realize that you can no longer pick your
Yeah.
kids up.
Right, right.
They're no longer gonna want you tuck you in bed and read you a bedtime story or sing song. Luckily, my 8-year-old still lets me do that. And
Mhm.
my husband and I scream out the window, I love you when we're dropping them off at school.
Mhm.
So does that mean that I lose some projects because people are like, I need it over the weekend? I'm like, I will never work over the weekend. That's my choice.
Mhm.
If I decide that I want to work over the weekend because I want to get stuff hurry up and done, if I work in the evening, that's my choice that I can make.
Mhm.
That people cannot put that timeline
Yeah.
on me. Like I make my schedule.
Yeah.
And is it limiting? Yeah, I only work 4, maybe 5 hours a day. Can I grow my business bigger and faster? Probably. But I know my why is more important than me growing an agency.
Yeah. Which I think is, I mean, obviously that's important, right? Like
Hmm.
if you could have that defined and to be able to limit your schedule like that and figure out like what's important to you from day one, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, and then people like if they really want to work, going back to like your ideal client, right? Like
Mhm.
you're going to find your ideal client. You're going to find the people that really want to work with you, right? And they're going to work within your schedule. They're going to be fine with whatever your schedule is
Yep.
because it's important that you're the one that you design their brand and logo and stuff.
And it goes back to communicating your core values. My
Yeah.
core value, one of them is family.
Yeah.
It's very important to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people that decide to start their business, their kids are already grown up. They're in their 20s or they're in high school. So then they decide to do their business.
Sure.
Or I'm doing it when my kids are still little. So I
Yep.
want to have that flexibility still. But yeah, it goes back to how you plan on setting up your business. What is your why? Your
Mhm.
why is not going to cut someone's grass to make their day better,
Mhm.
Like what gets you up out of bed to
Mhm.
go cut someone's grass?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
gets me out of bed to do design work is my kids
Mhm.
and then creating that business model to allow me to call up, I'm in a board member for one of the local networking groups. And during spring break, my son's like, "Can you stay home?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And so I text him like, "I'm not coming to that board meeting. I'm going to the rec center with my kids and we're going to go
Yeah.
do scout stuff."
Yeah.
But then the following Monday, I was like, I got to go, do my work stuff. So my kids see me working too. I bring them along. One of my clients is Chocolates by Michelle. I bring them to her shop and they love it. They don't see it as work.
Sure.
I'll take photos of like their little hands grabbing the chocolate, for social media and stuff. And so I try to bring my family in when I can to make it fun. If we're
Mhm.
going to the farmer's market so I can, see my clients and stuff, I
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
them along and it's fun.
Yeah.
So I've found ways to integrate my family into my business too, but not like, oh man, not another work meeting. Like my dad
Yeah.
was in sales, man. Those were boring when he would
Yeah.
bring us along for work and we're sitting there quiet, not allowed to do anything,
Yeah, yeah.
We get that eye if we start like teetering on
Making too much
something.
noise,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's another thing. Like if family is really important, like
That's
find
cool,
ways
yeah.
to involve your family to
Yeah.
what it does seem like it's work, but you're allowed to work and be with your family at the same
Yeah.
time.
And like you said, it's just fun and you're getting to do, everything that you enjoy.
Hmm.
You're getting to work on your business and then be with your family at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Pretty cool. Um, so I like to wrap up with one question and I'm curious to hear your answer, but when you're not working, um, and maybe besides your family, I'm going to
Yeah.
challenge you to do something besides your family. What is one thing that you enjoy doing?
Oh
Like
man.
if you had like one day to do whatever Christina wanted to do, what are you doing?
What am I doing? It's probably the beach.
Okay, cool.
Hmm.
What beach do you like going to?
I really like going to Indian Rocks Beach
Mm,
because it's
that's a good
not
spot.
crazy like Clearwater,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not right into St. Pete yet. We actually park or when my family goes, or like if I go by myself, we
yeah,
park at
yeah.
the dog park, so it's free parking, and then we
Okay.
walk over. But I just really, really enjoy the beach. It was one of those memories growing up where my parents weren't fighting. We were in Florida for spring break and we go to the
Mm,
beach, and it's so calming and you just hear the waves and the
yeah,
sea air just like opens up your sinuses. You're like,
yeah.
everything is right.
Someone posted about that, like getting to the beach and hearing the waves, like the sound of the waves, just like everything just goes away, right? It just
Oh, it
calms
does.
everything, and it's so true. It's like the moment you see the ocean,
Hmm.
it's just like a different experience.
It is, yeah, the beach and then, or going through, like, nature trails.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
anything with nature, really,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
probably why I'm really big into Cub Scouts. I like finding different nature parks
okay.
and walking around those, just listening to the sounds and being
Mm-hmm.
quiet so
Mm-hmm.
you can see the other critters that are coming around.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a family of, armadillos one time
Oh,
or,
cool.
like, the woodpeckers and stuff. Like, you don't
Yeah,
always you hear them, but sometimes you don't always see them. So if you're
yeah,
walking through these nature parks really
yeah,
quietly, you can see them.
yeah,
And there's great ones all over the place. During COVID, we found a ton of them because we like have to get out of the house.
yeah.
2 boys that were quickly becoming nudists. Get out of the house. We need to go do something. And so we went to just a bunch of different parks and
Yeah, and
getting
there's a ton of
outside.
them in our area too, like you said, like, there's some great spots where you can, like, really feel like you're like, even in Pinellas County where it's busy and
Mhm.
there's a lot of, development stuff, but, like, you can really feel like you're in the woods.
Moccasin Lake Park is over here,
Oh, yeah.
like, right in this area, and it's a really cool park.
Oh, yeah, that's just is that, like, is that the one that's off Enterprise?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have, like, the birds and stuff that you can go and see, and sometimes they bring the bird ambassadors out. You can't touch them, but it's just
Oh,
really cool to get up and close with, like, American vulture, where you usually see them, like,
yeah,
flying up around the side of the road, but, like,
yeah,
they're actually gorgeous birds. My dad
cool.
had not a pet, but kind of a pet vulture one time.
Really?
Yeah, that's a
Like,
wild
he was
story.
just, like, feeding them and it
No, the mom, I guess, she would go into one of his old horse barns. My dad lived in LaGrange, Georgia, so his
okay,
property
okay,
was, like, really old. He had a carriage
cool,
barn and a horse barn, and then he
cool.
had, like, the original chimney from the house that was still left. We just see this buzzer going in and out, and now we're like, "Okay, whatever." And then, one night we heard, the coyotes, and they are loud, and we're like, "Oh my god, they're getting into something." And we thought we were gonna see, like, a massacre of, like, a deer or something in the
Yeah,
backyard.
yeah.
And then we saw the, horse barn was just, like, a mess. So we're cleaning up, and when the floorboards were broken, he saw a baby buzzard underneath it. So they must have, like, hatched, and the coyotes got in there or something like that and destroyed the nest,
Oh,
but one of the babies
wow.
fell on the floorboards. So he kinda, like, raised it
Raised
and
it.
protected and stuff, and, like, he just hang out with the cats and the dog, and we had Georgia Wildlife called on him, like, "We're not caging him, he can do his own thing," he just likes to hang out, drink
Yeah.
coffee, and play with the cats. And then my
That's
dad got it
amazing.
called again, they're saying, "Your buzzard crashed a wedding." He got into the wedding cake
Oh,
at the little
no.
church down the
No.
road. But yeah, so he called him an Alabama parrot.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
but, Moccasin Lake Park is pretty cool, and they have,
yeah,
like, the trails and the butterfly garden and turtles
yeah.
and stuff.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
awesome.
nice.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for being here, taking time away from your family and sharing your story. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yep.